The day 5th of CSS Beginners to Advanced series. Perfect. So welcome back. Today is the day 5th of CSS Beginners to Advanced series, and today we will be completing the CSS Grid. And as I have told you, in case I can get time, we will do a very short project using CSS Flexbox and Grid and how to use it properly. So please join fast and make yourself comfortable so that we can complete the CSS Grid part. So today is the day 5th, and you all, I can say, most of you have filled the attendance sheet, and today is the last day. So please don't miss the attendance sheet of today, and please don't miss the attendance sheet of today's. In case you miss it, you will miss the participation certificate. So I request you all to please be attentive. Please fill the attendance sheet, which we will be sharing in the live YouTube chat. As what you have uh, noticed in all the 4 days. So please join fast. Today is the last day of this series, and I can say from next week we can go from advanced to master CSS same time. Schedule will be shared on the YouTube. Sorry, schedule will be shared in the WhatsApp groups maximum by Monday afternoon. You can get the schedule of the next week, that what we will be covering in the next week. So a boot camp is there tomorrow. One second. One second. A boot camp we have planned. Uh, One second. So tomorrow we have planned a boot camp also at 3 p.m. in which we will be covering HTML basics, CSS basics, and JavaScript basics. So you all can join there also. It's a 3 hours or 3.5 hours workshop where we will be covering HTML, JavaScript, and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript basics. So you can get a chance also for the participation certificate and a completion certificate, what which we will be sharing after you fill the attendance form and a small project that we will offer you. So I can say 3 minutes have already over. Let's wait for another 1 minute and we'll see. Then we will start with CSS Grid second part. And as please join fast so that we will have time and we will actually. I have a small plan for the small. I have a plan for the small project, so we will actually do that also with using CSS Flexbox, CSS Grid, CSS Float property, CSS Block property. What we have learned. So it's a very small project, but a very useful project. So please make yourself comfortable and be available. So going back to CSS Grid, as you all can see earlier, tomorrow we have completed half of the CSS Grid. Today we will be first learn about the autofill and autofit property of CSS. What is autofit and autofill property? So for this, in order to explain you, let me actually CSS Flux CSS Grid. One second. Let me open it with live server. So I've increased the font size so that you can be able to view properly in mobile and desktop view both. Second. Okay. So okay. So as I told you, we will be using the developer edition for CSS Grid and CSS Flexbox, which is very important for you to understand how things are getting placed. So that here we have completed yesterday. Today we will be starting with CSS Autofit and Autofill property, which will actually be which is actually very important. One second, let me. Okay, fine. So, in order to use the autofit and autofill property, let me quickly design the HTML. One second. Okay, fine. So, what is autofill property? Autofill property is a very useful property and a very important property. As the name suggests, automatically it fills the contents in the space what we have designed or what we have created. So it is actually used in a combination of repeat function, and it is used by grid to fit as many as items possible in the row. So based on the size of the items, based on the available items, autofill can actually place the available contents in the row. So as as I have told you earlier also, css is very responsive. So let me create the basic of it, and will tell you how to use autofill and autofit property. One second, let me create the basic skeleton. So initially we will be using only 12 items. So I have saved it, and going back to style.css, let me change the container with the container. So we'll have display grid. Okay, grid gap is of 20 px using perfect. So grid gap is of 20 px. Let's have a border of 2 px, solid of black color. So the content will, let me change it to 5 px, and it is not be visible properly. So fine, perfect. So let me use the grid template column property using the repeat function and auto autofill. So as you all can see, what I have told you, as much as available content they can fit inside this available space. So as you all can see the response, see the response. So as I've told you, CSS Grid is very responsive. Even CSS is very responsive, which will actually help you out to place the content automatically. Most of the things CSS will actually do by themselves. So here, as you all can see, every column we have given of 150 px. So the grid is able to fill only till item number 5 in the available space, because the leftover space is not up to 150 px. So as I have increased the space to 150 px, the item number 6 will actually go there. So after that, the next item starting from 6 will move to the next row, and item number 11 and 12 moves in the last row. This is called as autofill property. It is used always with the repeat function. So now moving on to the autofit, fit fit. It earlier we are talking of autofill. So autofit is almost similar to autofill. Both are almost very similar, but there is a difference. And to understand the same, let me reduce the 1 second to this basic structure to item number 4. Sorry. Okay, fine. So now going back to style. Now, as you all can see, and let me open the inspect also so that you can correlate the things what I want to say. Okay, fine. So as you all can see, we have only using autofill property and 150 pixels. So okay, so all the items what you can see using the space of 150px, and you can see the grid ends at track number 8. So here, let's change the code to autofit, save it. So here, as you all can see, the grid ends where the item ends. So this is the feature of autofit, where the grid ends where the item ends. Earlier, the grid used to go till the available space of 150px. So as you all can see, let me change again to autofill, and as you all can see the difference here. So let me change it to autofill, and it's been corrected. So now here we cannot fill. 1 second, it's auto fit. Save it. Okay, fine. So now we cannot fit additional item here. So let's add a property to item number 4. 1 second. As you all can see, item number 4 we have changed. Item 4, ITEM 4. 1 second. Item number 4, ITM 4, perfect. So here let me save it. So what I've told, I have asked item number 4 to shift to grid column end of -1. 1 second. So as you all can see, the item number 4 have shift towards the end of -1. So here, as you all can see, the item 4 is shifted to the end of the grid. This is a very common pattern which, when you have many menu items, or you have navigation bar, or you have nav bar, you can use this property to shift one of the item towards the end, or you can shift all the items towards the end using this grid column end property. So as you all can see, this is the function of autofill. So now moving on to the another property of CSS grid, which is called as a min max function. Min max function, as you all can see, it it is used along with autofill, and is a very powerful concept which makes your site responsive without much use of media queries. So let's have some another 1 second. Let me change this to perfect. And here, one second. So here, what we did, we actually have changed our items to 4 items, but the item number second have a space more than the size what we have allotted, which is called as the 100 px. So in order to fix this problem, the minmax property has been invented. So it takes two parameters and is written as minmax, then comma, sorry, then bracket using a comma. So let's use it. See, using minmax and a comma function in inside the brackets, we have used this functionality, which you all can see. We have given two sizes of 150 px and one of another of 1 fr. So depending upon the size of the item, system will automatically pick the given spaces. This is the very important property where you have different size of contents, uh, where you have the size of every item different. This is why minmax has been invented, and it will actually, one second, one minute, let me change it to more, so as you all can see, see the response. This is a mobile view, this is something tablet view and a desktop view. I hope you all are getting things in a very common way. So as you all can see, you might have noticed one thing, that in the desktop view, the items are sort of a one side and there is a lot of empty space in our grid. So as you all can see, these items are actually fixed to one of the side, and a lot of the empty space are being available here after item number 8. So we can fix this problem with the help of Autofit property. Let's change our code to auto. Where is the code? Auto fit. So as you all can see, automatically the content have adjusted themselves in the available space. This is the functionality of auto fit. So I hope the things are clear now. So now we will use the grid column and grid row concept to place items. Fine. We will use the another powerful concept called as grid template areas to place items. So one second. Fine. So let me change the property, or let me change the code here. So here, as you all can see, we have actually two sidebars. a main bar and a main content and a footer. So as the name suggests, I am sidebar. This is sidebar one. This is sidebar two. This is the main content, and this is the footer. So footer is somewhat, you can say, it is already been placed here. So now let have the grid layout, and we have actually three column and three rows here. So let us change. Control S. So as you all can see, we have actually created, and let me open the inspect 1 second. See, we have actually created three rows and three column in order to fix the content, which have two sidebars, one main content, and a footer. So using the property of grid template areas and have the format as below, you can, I will write here. 1 second, 1 second. Fine. Okay, perfect. So now, using this property of grid template area, let me assign something here. See, we have actually what we did. We have now with the development tools open, we will show the template areas here where what we have the desired things to place. So as you all can see in the lower part, we have footer. This is the main content center part, and these are the sidebars. So here with the development tools, we have actually changed the names. Fine. So now to place the content, we have to select the item and then use the grid area property. Fine. So 1 second, 1 second. Okay. So then you use the grid area property, and we will use footer dot footer grid area footer. We are selecting a footer class and then using a grid area property. So how you are using, we'll show you 1 second. So let me have dot footer, have the grid area as footer. Save it. So the footer have automatically adjusted themselves there. So now let's change to item. Let's do it for item number one. So they have adjusted themselves in the sidebar. We'll use for item number two, which is the content. See, then again for the last of the sidebar. So here, as you all can see, our sidebars, our main content, our footer has placed. Hello, Tyagi, good evening. Today, I guess you are late, or you have make your presence late. So this is the result what we are expecting, where we have placed two sidebars, a main content and a footer. So by using grid template here property, it is very easy to use media queries also. 1 second, see the response. See. Now a very important, very amazing, and this is one of my favorite property of grid, which is called as a legendary masonry layout, which you can actually love to use, but there is only one limitation that, one second, let me design the code first, then I will tell you what is the limitation here. One second. So here, as you all can see, we have 70 items here. Okay, so in order to use this legendary masonry layout, let me use template column property, build template component, have a repeat function of 10 columns of 1 fr. We save it. What happened? One second. So here, as you all can see, we have created 10 columns of 1 fr. Now, using this legendary masonry layout, what but before using it, let me create some irregularities in the items so that you can able to understand how this property will actually be working. So as you all can see, it happens most of the time that content are not always of the same size. So now empty spaces have been created and things are not aligned properly. So using this property of legendary masonry, which is called as grid autoflow dense, see, without leaving any of the space, entire content have adjusted themselves. This is the functionality of legendary masonry, but the sequence will not, the guarantee of the sequence will not be there. So as you all can see, 1 2 3 4 5, 6 is here, 7 is again up, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is again below. So as you all can see, items will place themselves here, but the size, oh, but the sequence is not being guaranteed as where which item will be placed. So this is the legendary masonry layout, which will actually place all the items in a very perfect way, but the sequence is not guaranteed. So where you have to place items, but the guaranteed sequence are not guaranteed, so you can use this property using auto grid auto flow as tense. So now, moving on to the next part, which is called as a grid alignment and centering. So in order to use it, let me have, so what is grid alignment and centering? So in this we will use the CSS values, which is called as justify item, justify content, align content, justify self, and align self, what we have already been learned in the CSS Flex. It is very similar to CSS Flex, but here, as you all can see, the Flexbox has a flex direction property. So here justify will move on to the row axis, and align will move towards the column axis. So here, let me create a basic structure. So now, as I've told you, justify will move on row side and align will move on column side. As I told you, grid work on both the direction. So let me remove these irregularities what we have created for legendary masonry layout. Save it, and this dance is also not required. Delete it and save it. Perfect. So got container. What is the class name? Control C, Control V, Control S. Okay. So now we have displays grid gap we have created of 20 px and grid complete column using repeat function. We have created 10 column of 1 fr each. So now moving on to the justify item. Justify item again have four values, which is called as start, end, center, and stretch. So let me see first how to use this property. Will have justify item as start. So you all can see. One second, let me open the developer edition grids. Okay, fine, perfect. So, and let me target the item to white so that you can be able to view it properly. As you all can see, using justify item start, as justify will work on the row axis. Sorry, things items have moved towards the start of the row part. So now changing to justify item and please focus on the content, not on the code, because as soon as I type end and press enter and save it, entire items what we have created will move towards the end in the row axis. So moving on to the third property of justify item, which is called center. Save it. See. Moving on to the last property of justify item, which is called stretch. The content have stretch themselves. So this is how these four values have actually worked in a proper manner. So moving on to the next property of justify item, which is similar to moving on to the next property of CSS grid, which is very similar to justify item, which is called as align item. And here, as you all can see, align item, as I've told you, moves on column axis. So similar to justify item, it have also four items: start, end, stretch, and center. So let me use it. And here content display grid template column repeat 10 of number. So we'll have grid template row. We will use the same control C. We'll have 5 of 100 px. So let's have align item start, save it. So as you all can see, align item will work on column axis. So toward the start of the column, entire content have shift. So now align item end. Oh, sorry. Content have shift toward the end. Moving on to the third property, which is called as center. This is in the center. And moving on to the last property of align item, which is called as a stretch. See, they have stretched in the column direction. So there is a trick which will help you to place the item or I can use a better word which is called as to center the item is to have the justify item and align item as center. So we'll have center, center, and see the entire content is in a perfect center position using the justify item center and align item center, which moves or which places the item in a perfect center in row and column level both. So this is a very powerful tool which you can see. Hello, Mr. Rahman. So moving on to the next part, next property, which is the justify content and align content. So here, in order to use justify content, first let us make the grid size less, and we will use the grid template column of with repeat function. One second. Okay, so as you all can see, fine, perfect. So similar to justify item, justify content have 7 values, which is called as it is very similar to justify content in Flexbox. They have also the 7 values. It's similar here also. So which are start, end, stretch, center, space evenly, space between, and space around. So here, let us start with the start first. So we'll have the justify content as start. So as you all can see, content have shift towards the start of the grid. So now let's change it to end. See, content shift towards the end. Now using the third property, which is called as the stretch. Sorry, let's use the center first, then stretch, then space evenly, then space around, then space between. See, this is how the 7 values will actually work in a perfect way. It is a very simple thing, but you have to use your brain as how using in actually in use in projects you have to use your brain as how to place items using these grid functionalities. So similar to justify content, we have 7 values in align content also, which works on the column level. So in order to use the align content, let me actually change the code pen, or I can say let me actually change this to little bit small. We'll have only 10 items. Perfect. Okay, fine. So as I've told you, it will work on column level. So one second. Let's start with align content as start. By default, it is in the normal behavior of start only. One second, one second. See now end, end, center, center, stretch, stretch, space around, see space around themselves, space evenly, sorry, space between, space e space evenly. See, this is how this justify content and line content will work. The seven values have actually have the seven ways to place the item perfectly. This is how the functionality of justify item, justify content, align item, and align content works. So, moving on to the align self property and justify self property, as similar to the Flexbox, what we have learned, it actually overrides what we have used for all the available contents. So, similar to justify item, it have four values: start, end, center, and stretch. So, let me show you one by one how this functionality will work. And let me change, in order to show you this self property, let me change the color to, will have the color to aqua. Okay, fine. So what I have told here, what I have written here as justify self to start. So as you all can see, the item number 8 is towards the start. Now let me write it end. So item number 8 is towards the end. Center is in the center, and stretch, so it's in the stretch form. So now let me go to the align self property. It is similar to align content and overrides the value of align content, but it is meant for a single item. So here it has similar to justify cell. It has same four values: start and stretch and start and center and stretch. So here let us have some more items. One second. Let's target item number 14 for align cell property. So where is item number 14? So this is item number 14. As you all can see, have a different color. So align self. Let's start with the first property, which is called as the align self start and center. One second. Now it is working fine. We'll go from start. So it's by default in the start only. End, center, and stretch. So this is how all the four values of align self will move. So I can say by here we have completed CSS from uh, beginner to advanced, where we have completed CSS Basics, CSS Flexbox, and CSS Grid. So, as I have told you, in case we have some time, we will do a very small project. So, give me a moment. 1 second. Hi all. Hi Sandeep. Actually, we have given the attendance sheet here in the live YouTube chat. You all are requested to please fill here. Today is the last day of CSS beginner to advanced series. So let me create. So we have completed the CSS part. Now I will be doing a very small. I will be doing a project, but maximum things I have already completed by me. So I will be doing a copy paste thing of the basic CSS skeleton. So here, this is a basically. Let me close this one. Okay, so this is a basically a album type web page. Okay, so now making it responsive, we will be using 1 second. Let me change the screen size. Okay, fine. So with the help of CSS Grid properties, we will be using this functionality to be more responsive. 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. Here what I did, I have used the display grid property, grid template column, repeat using autofit function, min max 300px and 1fr and grid gap of 5px. So as you all can see, items have adjusted themselves using the property of min max. We have given two type of spaces, 300px and 1fr. So based on the available space, based on the available content, they have adjusted themselves. See, perfect. Using autofit property. Now let's have some background here. Okay, fine. And have inserted some padding also. Very nice. Okay, fine. We'll have grid gap of 10px. Perfect, perfect. Let me. So now only the available content needs to be adjusted. So for this, see, using the width of 100%, the content have adjusted themselves. So this is our final project, which is almost, or I can say it is ready. See the response, mobile view, tablet view, and a desktop view. This is how this very basic small project has been created. So thank you all for your participation, for your time, and for the series. So again, we have very small, very important thing tomorrow at 3 p.m. We have a boot camp of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. which will be, I can say, a 3 to 4 hours boot camp starting from 3 p.m. So I request you to please join here, which it is very helpful for you for your career doubts, for the concepts, all all this thing we will repeat again tomorrow, but it may be a little bit faster. So thanks all, thanks for the support, thanks for the participation.